All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Now let's take a moment to talk about this Dollarama class action lawsuit settlement. Dollarama has reached a $2.5 million settlement in this class action lawsuit over hidden fees. The plaintiffs in the suit allege that the company did not properly advertise the price of certain products for sale. Now, under the terms of this agreement, people who bought batteries, light bulbs, toys, other items between December 11th and July 4th of December 11th, 2019 and July 4th of 2023 may be entitled to compensation. So let's find out more about this lawsuit. Joey Zukran's with us, class action attorney specializing in consumers' rights from LPC Avocats is on the line. Joey, welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's so great to talk to you. And it's not lost on me that it was on Monday on this program. I was speaking to an author. She just came out with a book on Rogers, the telecommunications company. And in the book, you are mentioned because of your various class action lawsuits against the company. And here you are on the show today talking about another class action lawsuit. So give us the scoop here, Joey, on this settlement with Dollarama. What do consumers, our listeners, need to know?
So about a year ago, our client walked into a Dollarama, purchased a pack of batteries like probably all of us have done on several occasions, and the price of the batteries was advertised at $1.25. The eco fees, or the environmental handling fees, EHFs, were displayed and disclosed, but not prominently or adequately. And when she got to the cash, there was a charge of $1.37. So we're looking at 12 cents to 25 cents, depending on which batteries. But in the aggregate, obviously, it works out to several $1 million. Fast forward a year later, Dollarama has since modified their practice Canada-wide. You'll now notice that the complete price is fully displayed and advertised, and have agreed to pay $2.5 million into a settlement fund that will be distributed to the public, to their consumers. Basically, anyone who in Canada who's purchased any electronic item subject to eco fees since 2021 for Canada and 2019 for Quebec, all the way to July 4th, 2023. All you have to do to get compensated, it's an extremely easy and simple process. No proof of purchase is required, is to submit your email address online on the settlement website by April 5th of this year. And that settlement website is dollaramaehfsettlement.com.
And go to the website, you pop in your email, and then you'll be able to claim in the future.
Exactly. So the idea is that once we have your list of emails, and if and when the settlement gets approved after a settlement approval hearing that will take place on April 9th, then the claims administrator, who's named Concilia, will send you an email saying settlement has been approved. Please complete this form. It should take not more than 30 seconds. Again, no proof of purchase required, no banking information required, the least invasive process possible, and then you would receive a gift card to Dollarama, an electronic gift card, which will be sent to you from Dollarama of up to $15.
So listen, and I see here that Dollarama denies liability or wrongdoing, right, in this case. But again, there has been a settlement reached. So how happy are you with this settlement?
So companies will always and generally always deny liability and sign a settlement without admission. And in this particular case, it was a technical violation. So and the technical violation that was corrected very quickly. So at the end of the day, we have to look at how much was collected on account of environmental fees. And I think in a case where my client or the public generally would, if there were damages, would have been in the realm of 12 to 80 cents or a little more, a little less, and they can get a gift card of up to $15, I think the result is actually phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And not to mention, of course, there was a practice change as well. So all in all, we're very happy. Now the settlement has to be submitted to the courts and we'll decide whether it's fair and reasonable and in the best interest of the public.
We're with Joey Zukran from LPC Avocats behind the class action lawsuit settlement that was announced this week with Dollarama over these environmental fees that are assessed. Okay, so let me ask you this. Yesterday on the program, we were talking about class action lawsuits at another point of the program. And one of our panelists mentioned that they have a friend that applies for all of these settlements, even if they really didn't buy anything from the company, right? Because they know they're not verified. And I said, sounds highly illegal to me. So on these class action settlements where you don't need documentation, you don't need a receipt to prove that you bought batteries 4 years ago and that kind of thing. What do you say to someone who's saying, well, geez, I'll sign up anyways? What are they risking if they do that?
So I'd probably say not to do that because we'd be committing fraud.
Uh-huh.
But the reality in these type of settlements is that there's always a balance where we're trying to ensure that the settlement fund is depleted and paid out. So you actually don't want a situation where there's a 2.5 settlement and there's $500,000 that is not distributed to the public. But we have to weigh that interest versus the risk of attracting fraudulent claims. So that's why in this particular settlement, and I can speak to this one and some others we've done, there's that initial step of provide your email, but we're not just going to send you a $15 gift card because you provided your email. There'll be a subsequent step, and we have fraud measures in place. The claims administrator has IP verification methods, etc., to ensure that it's not one person submitting multiple fraudulent claims. So there are processes in place, and we of course presume that everyone is in good faith under the law, and hope that only those that are entitled to will be claiming. But I would definitely not encourage anybody to complete a claim if they're not eligible. It's pretty serious.
And listen, I know you mentioned that this violation here, this is basically a technicality on displaying these prices, and it was corrected quickly here. So in the grand scheme of things, how do you view this class action lawsuit compared to a lot of the other ones you've had in the past?
So, it's always great when the defendant comes, in any case, and comes and modifies their practice right away. But let me mention something else. This case is not over because there are two other defendants who were sued at the same time. We also sued Pharmaprix and Amazon. So if you go to Pharmaprix also modified their practice pretty quickly thereafter. But Amazon, if you purchase, and I'll give the example of a bundle. So if you go to Amazon.ca and write, bundle, printer, inkjet cartridge, you'll see that they do not mention the eco fees until the very last step. So we're actually still fighting this case. It'll likely continue for a couple of more years because there is no settlement right now with either Amazon or Pharmaprix. But it's always, you feel like you did a right, a social good when, a couple of days or weeks after filing the case, you have a large corporation who would have, had this just been an individual situation, like a consumer like you or I or my client writing to the head office saying, this is egregious, you should change it, would have done nothing. Here, get sued, modify the practice. So it's definitely a good feeling, and it shows that, gives us a good reason to wake up in the morning.
What do you say to someone who's got the cynical view? And I'll tell you, some of my text messengers on our text line at 514-800, they have a cynical view of this, is that, you're just chasing after a settlement for something that was really insignificant and really didn't affect anyone who was buying those batteries in real life, the 12 cents if they knew or not. What do you say to someone who's got the cynical view on these class action lawsuits?
Look, there's always going to be people who have different opinions on everything. So the reality is we didn't take this case for 12 cents only, and I think there's an American Supreme Court case that says only a lunatic sues for $10 was the amount in that case. The issue is the aggregate, right? So if we're going to let a company get away with, and I'm not imputing this to Dollarama, general broad question, if we're going to let a company get away with stealing tens of millions of dollars by way of 12-cent or $2 charges. We have another case against ShakePay, for example, where ShakePay, that Bitcoin exchange company, the crypto exchange company, where they were actually charging people a commission of 1.5% and lying about it, saying that they were not charging those fees. My client sued. In the aggregate, they collected close to $100 million by way of $9 billion worth of transactions. So if we're going to let a company steal $2 from people and say, oh, you're only ambulance chasing, well, but guess what? The company will never stop. So I think we should maybe be looking at it from the other side of the coin, which is maybe we want to ensure that companies are held to account. And I think that's where we come in, firms like mine, and there's others in Montreal as well.
And Joey, I have a question on the text line here. I think this is a good one. Steve writes and asks about, what if you are more than one in a family, you all live in the same home, can you all file a claim on this one? Like, three or four members of the same family, can they all file a claim?
Absolutely, and I encourage you to do so. It's not limited to household; it's limited to persons.
Okay, well, thanks so much for all the information, and keep fighting the good fight, Joey. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Joey Zukran right there from LPC Avocats, class action attorney, specializes in consumers' rights.